This is Lee Ridley. I was lucky enough to achieve 2 promotions with Scunthorpe United, but nothing compares to the joy I experience when listening to the Iron Hour podcast. Just a heads up, this podcast contains strong language, you know, the good stuff. If this isn't for you, turn off now. For the rest of you, now fucking enjoy the podcast.
Right, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Iron Hour podcast. As always, I'm your host, Barrett. I'm joined by my usual panel. So, first of all, kick us off, Max Bell. How you doing, Max?
All the better for seeing you, Barra. And have you washed your cheek yet?
Not yet. For those of you that don't know, I did receive a kiss yesterday from Mr. Danny Whitehall, and it's going to be cherished forever. And I've also joined by another one of my usual panel. I've got Marco. What's up, Marco?
Yeah, loving it. It's nice to be sat here as the best team in Lincolnshire.
Yes.
So yeah, a little bit chipper. But yeah, looking forward to obviously Saturday and 2 games off the Gory land.
Well, you touched on last night, and I was sat in the stands with you, Gareth. We experienced it together. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. I am here if you can't see me. But yeah, I'm here. Sounds good, apparently, so that's a plus. But you don't need to see me anyway. You see enough of me, everybody, so.
Indeed, we do. Indeed, we do. It seems like we get one or the other with you, Gareth. We either get to see you or we get to hear you. I don't know what's worse, to be honest, but
Oh, no.
no. Right, so we've got a couple of games to review. We'll kick off with the one on Saturday at home to Blyth. And it was an emphatic win, 5-1 in fact, an array of different goal scorers. Max, we've won 5-1. Did you feel any different at the conclusion of the game to you did at the start? Did you learn anything?
I was perhaps a little bit surprised by how poor Blyth were defensively. I can see why their fans were so pessimistic before the game. I was pleased as to how clinical we were because we have gone up against some opposition in games this season and dominated possession, dominated chances, but it's just not been able to drop for us. I was really pleased to see us score 2 goals from set pieces. That is an area where offensively we've perhaps lacked at key moments in key games, but it was good. And you know, I'm sure a number of supporters will not unreasonably say, "Oh, well, we've beaten a poor side." But there have been times this season where we haven't beaten sides who haven't played that well for a number of reasons. And also, I think purely from a confidence point of view, the results that followed after the Darlington game, well, maybe that's what we needed. Maybe we needed to play some sides lower down the division, score a few goals, get confidence. And yeah, it was a good win. Everyone left home happy. And I think it's a good springboard to go into first the Gloucester game, but then whoever we get in the semi-final.
Max just touched on there, actually. You know, you said two goals come from set pieces. There's possibly an argument, Marco, that 3 did because the penalty was the result of a corner. So, you know, we finally look dangerous from set plays. Does that fill you with optimism going into the playoffs?
Oh, definitely. Especially at this level. A good set piece is what takes teams up. For example, look at your Tamworth with a long throw. A lot of goals come from your centre halves. Obviously, Maxi being the man of the moment at the minute. Going forward, especially coming into the playoffs, if we've got another tool in our belt, obviously we've been scoring a lot of goals anyway without the set pieces. So if we can sort of get that under our belt as well as another way to obviously damage opponents, then yeah, all the better. But yeah, regarding set pieces, early on in the season we were poor, as Max said. It's something we've really struggled with. So I'd have liked to have gotten a little bit better at them a little bit earlier, but hey, we can't be too picky. But yeah.
Gareth, I guess I'd like to ask you a similar question to how I started with Max, really. Do you feel like we know anything more about this team than we did at 2:55 on Saturday? Do you think, are you filled with any optimism or is it much of a muchness now going into this playoffs?
No, I'm filled with a bit of optimism because we've actually scored goals in the first half. And at half time, we've been able to sit back and think, you know what, we're comfortable here. We're not going into the second half thinking we've got to score. We've got to where the goal coming from. You know, it was nice to get an early goal. 9th minute, I think the first one was. So it just settled the nerves a bit, and I think that's something that we've needed. in the past. Like I say, had games and we've just been looking and thinking, when are we going to score? The chances have been there, they've been created, but we've just not put the ball in the net. So to score 3 times in the first half was a massive uplift for me, that we can actually do it. We know where the net is. We don't have to wait 45 minutes before we start finding it. And so it was just that was a positive for me, that we've scored in the first half and scored 3 goals.
No, yeah, very good points. Max, you touched on kind of the pessimism around the Blyth fans. I don't know how you saw it, but for me, certainly, I was comparing the game away at Blyth in February and the one on Saturday. And for me, the biggest difference I thought actually was their goalkeeper. Now, incidentally, the goalkeeper back in February was Dan Langley, the keeper who we announced as having signed on Saturday. In bizarre circumstances, really, because he has been recently on loan at Blyth, recalled, and then suddenly come on loan to us, really to sit on the bench at best. Was you kind of surprised with that signing?
I wasn't surprised that we signed the goalkeeper on loan. I was pleased that they'd got special dispensation from the National League in order to do so. Look, it's a thin market in terms of players you can get at this stage of the season, particularly when realistically you know that they're going to sit on the bench. It's not out of the question he could play on Saturday against Gloucester as well, I suppose. But on the basis that he'd played games in this division earlier on this season, then I think that experience is welcome. What you probably don't want is a really young kid who maybe hasn't played football at men's senior level this season, because that transition, no matter how technically good you are, perhaps can be really, really difficult, especially in crunch games against big physical players who are going to put the weight about. You're maybe not going to get the protection from the referees that you might usually get in academy football or higher up the league pyramid. So I was pretty pleased with the signing. Look, we all know what Ross Fitzsimmons brings to us, but I suspect from Langley's point of view, if he could be around a good club for a few weeks, it'll be an enjoyable experience for him if we get promoted, and it probably gives him a better chance of finding a good club next season where he'll have a decent chance, he'll be hoping, of playing regular football. So if we get promoted, it's a win-win for everyone.
No, he certainly impressed me when we saw him in February, and I have been told that he came highly advised actually from a manager in the Football League. So it'd be interesting to see how that one develops, because a lot of the players' contracts are kind of up in the air, although I think Fitzsimmons is contracted for next season. There'll be a lot of players, the higher earners, that we don't really know, do we, if they're going to be here or not, again, depending on which league. So it was in the back of my mind. I was thinking, I wonder if they may be even having a look at him for the future, possibly not even next season, but the season after. Gareth, we've given away a penalty on Saturday in rather bizarre circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
Just talk me through what you saw.
Well, I saw what everyone else saw, really. I just thought it was a 50-50 tackle. Their man's gone down. I can see possibly why the referee's given it. He's probably thought it was a bit late. Possibly, I don't know if that's why he's given it, but it was just one of them where he's gone for the tackle as he took the shot. And I didn't think it was a penalty at the time. I've watched it back, and like I say, I can see why the ref's given it. Other refs wouldn't have given it. I think he maybe thought it was just a bit too late, but for me, it wasn't a penalty. I think he felt sorry for Blyth, in all fairness. He was just looking and thinking, they're getting absolutely hammered. I best just, give the fans something to cheer about. They can have a penalty. But yeah, no, it was one of them that could have gone either way. And fortunately, we were 4-0 up at the time. If it was 0-0 and they'd got it, well, yeah, you'd have thought the referees were on our case again, just giving other teams opportunities. But yeah, no, I didn't. No, it's not a penalty, but I can see why it could have been given.
Max, did you have any views on it?
Yeah, I love a bit of drama. I disagree with Gareth. I thought it was a stonewall penalty. I stood behind the goal, didn't have the greatest view, when the ball comes in. Wasn't really sure, but having seen it back live, I think he's late. I think he catches him. we talked about the two appeals for penalties we had at home to Chester, for example. It was a pretty similar tackle to the Beeston one, which I think after that game, watching it back, a lot of Iron fans were saying, well, we should have had a penalty for that when Beeston hit the bar. I thought, Gareth is right in one way, in that if it's 0-0, it's maybe more difficult for the referee to give. It's easy to give penalty appeals when the game's already gone. We got, again, having watched it back and having seen it live, what I thought was a comparatively softer penalty, on Danny Whitehall at our end. I think he knew what he was doing. The contact wasn't really great, but I've got no issues with Blyth having got that penalty, really. If it was the other way round, I'd want it. And I thought it was a bit of a daft challenge. If you make the referee answer the question, is it a penalty, then sometimes you're going to get the answer you don't like. So I just hope there's no hand in mouth moments like that in the playoffs, because chances are we're probably not going to be 4-0 up and have that kind of cushion where you can just absorb conceding the goal line out at home in a big game.
No, like you say, we've got 3 games to go potentially before the end of our season, which obviously 270 minutes. Put your injury time in there. You're looking at 300 minutes of game time, hopefully, between now and the final whistle of the season. There's going to be about 30 minutes in there, isn't there, for sure? So it's just about whether we can ride that storm and whether we can get away with it, like every other team going into the playoffs, I guess. Marco, one question for you, really, that I kind of wanted to press, because I thought it might have come up by now, but it hasn't. Kai Corbett, really impressed on Saturday. We'll come on to last night's game. He really impressed again last night. Do you think that gives Jimmy Dean question marks and headaches going into the playoffs?
Yeah, without a doubt. I think with his little cameo on his debut, despite only being 10 minutes, you could see wow, he sort of got bums off seats. I thought really impressive. I think he looks a level above. With giving Jimmy Dean headaches. Law's coming back as well yesterday. All those attacking options now, and all of them can stake a claim that we should be starting in the playoffs. So definitely a selection headache. One that I'd sooner us have than not have. The array of talent on our flanks now is sensational. And we've got Wilson out on loan as well, which is easy to forget about. So, like I said, any of those wingers, I think a fit Laws would have had a fantastic season. It's a shame we've missed him for such a big period. But yeah, I don't envy Jimmy, because for me, if you ask me off the bat now, I think it's Corbett and Roberts. But then McAlinden's.
I was going to say that's harsh on
It's harsh. It's harsh. I think whoever drops is harsh. I think Corbett's maybe played his way in 100%. This is crazy. Law might not even make the bench for a playoff if we're going to have that keeper on there. It's absolute madness again. And we discussed this really early on in the season on our podcast. Yeah, yesterday, Danny Elliott scoring 3 doesn't even start for us. Do you know what I mean? It is, when you look at the depth we have when everyone's fit, it is mental. So yeah.
I think he scored 2 yesterday. The first goal was definitely Ross Barrows, and I think it's been corrected. So
was it? Oh, sorry, I just saw that. Not all of us.
No. It's definitely been corrected. I don't know how we had the audacity to claim it, to be honest. Absolutely nowhere near it. The other thing to kind of mention while we're on Kai Corbett is in the celebrations yesterday, I didn't actually pick up on this at the time, but I did notice in the celebrations, his kind of thigh was strapped up, and he looked to be not limping, but there was certainly something there, certainly a tweak or something. So,
yeah, you can only assume if he's played in that game, with all due respect to Spalding and the Lincolnshire Trophy, if he's playing in that game, he's 100% fit. I don't think Jimmy Dean's taking a risk on any player that isn't 100% for that game, because there's just no need. They either started beasting or whatever. Hopefully it's just a precaution. He's maybe had injuries there previously. But yeah, me personally, I wouldn't be having him anywhere near that team yesterday if he wasn't available.
Can I just say as well that it was strapped up in the Blyth game?
Okay, that's good to know.
Definitely in the second half, it was strapped up. I didn't notice it in the first half, so whether it just tweaked something, felt it, but it was strapped up for the second half of the Blyth game as well.
Did you notice that yesterday, Gareth, in the celebrations that he seemed to be strapped up?
I saw him strapped up, yeah, but I didn't think he was moving any differently. I just, well, possibly it was just fatigue. Maybe, maybe just took a knock or something. But I don't
Might
think
be
the
like the
strapping was
might be like the
anything.
Vardy wrist thing. Might
Yeah,
just
yeah, just for show, isn't it?
yeah.
But yeah, he was strapped up at Blythe as well, so I don't think there's anything too untoward about it yesterday.
Okay, good to know. So we've touched on yesterday, Gareth. You and I were both there. We've won the Lincolnshire Cup, all right. It might not be the most glamorous trophy, but I tell you now, the scenes at full time actually kind of caught me by surprise because those players were really milking it, weren't they, Gareth?
They were, Danny Whitehall especially. He was loving it. But yeah, no, they were having fun, and it was good to see that they were having fun and enjoying the occasion, because they could have just thought, oh, it's just a poxy tin pot cup, and just applauded the fans and walked off. But no, they were loving life. They were having a laugh. They were joking, and that's what you want to see your team doing, especially with some vital games coming up. That camaraderie. So yeah, it was good to see for me that they were enjoying the moment. They were laughing. They were joking. Just getting involved.
Obviously, we've gone 2-0 down to two goals in that first half, and then managed to kind of come back in the second half. I haven't spoke to you since the game, so I don't know whether you still have the same opinion at the time. But I kind of thought the way the result went was against kind of the flow of the game. So 2-0 down at half time, I
Yeah,
thought we were much the better team in the first
yeah,
half.
yeah.
Having won 3-2,
Hmm.
I thought Spalding were probably the better team in the second half. I thought they probably
Yeah,
edged it. Don't know if
yeah.
you saw it similar.
No, no, definitely. I said that Spalding were very unlucky to not get that game to penalties. In all fairness, it's the least they deserved. They put up a really good show, actually. I was before the game, I was speaking with Jack, and we both said 3-0 Scunthorpe for the 90 minutes, just thinking, yeah, it'll be steady away, easy. But no, they give us a good game, actually. And they took the chances in the first half. Like you say, we were the better team in the first half, I thought. And then the
No.
second half, they were putting the pressure on, but we were scoring the goals. So yeah, but no, it was a good game. It was a good test. They're flying high in their league as well. I think they're second. They can still get top. They've got 2 games left, so
Yeah.
they've got stuff to play for as well. So it was a good test for us.
Yeah, two games are left, I think, in their
Yeah,
season. 2 points behind the leaders.
yeah,
I did forget to check actually the permutations of promotion, but I presume it's top goes up and the rest is a
yeah. I thought
mentalist
so.
playoff. So you'd like to think they're probably going for the title again.
Hmm.
They could have been on for a double. For me, it's actually kind of refreshing to see Jimmy Dean and Scunthorpe taking this cup so seriously, because although we did win it last year, Max, I look at the amount of people that were there at Bamford Park as it was then, versus the amount that travelled away to Lincoln this time. And honestly, I think probably more went to Lincoln last night than actually were at home last season when we won the Links Cup. Has it surprised you how kind of seriously they've taken the competition this year?
You know why the support doesn't surprise me? I think a competition like that, you always have to set it within the context of a season. Last season was the second relegation in a row. Trying to get supporters motivated for league games that are basically dead rubber by the end of the season. Never mind. The Lincolnshire Cup is always going to be difficult. Lincoln isn't far. It's a bit of a pig to get to. Otherwise, I could have almost seen more supporters making the journey. You could tell from the celebrations that they were glad to have won it. I think, in a way, the way in which they won the game informed those celebrations. If it had been a 5-0, smoking cigars, very easy, very comfortable, Blythe-esque win, ironically, then there might not have been that. But actually, the statistics show in black and white, we haven't really come from behind to get points or positive results in almost any games this season. It's been really rare. So to do that a week and a half before the biggest game that Scunthorpe have played in a number of years the playoff semi-final. I think speaks well, and even though he's not going to start, well, it would be a surprise if he did. But Danny Elliott scoring twice and cheekily trying to claim a third, taking their leaf out of Danny Whitehall's book, I think that's the best possible outcome that I think could have come out of that. For that starting 11, if I could have only have picked one player to have had a really good confidence-boosting game, I would have picked Danny Elliott. Because then, if we're playing games and with half an hour goal, extra time, whatever it might be, we need a goal, just like we did at Southport away. His substitution, him coming off the bench, more so than any other change we're likely to make, could, and if needed, you hope would, have a do or die impact on our season. I was thrilled for Danny, and hopefully it's not the last goal he scores between now and the end of the season.
Gareth, a couple of
Yes.
things that concerned me last night. I thought the way we conceded the first goal was concerning. So it was a
Yes.
cross, unmarked man at the back post.
Mhm.
You're asking a lot of McAlinden. I don't really know what his preferred position is. I presume it's a winger. He was playing at left back last night, and to be honest, he was caught cold for that one.
Yeah.
He made a couple of good blocks in the second half, which prevented goals, but I did feel that we were there to be got at on the left-hand side last night. Did you kind of
Yeah.
share that?
Yeah, because it wasn't only that first goal either. There was a few more occasions where they had a man over at the back. You know, they just seemed to find that space, drew our men in, and then one would peel off and just have all the space in the world for it. So yeah, that is a bit concerning. But you know, you got to hope that I don't know what's wrong. Do we know what's wrong with Denton? Is he long term or?
No, the club are very much cards close to the chest on this one.
Yeah, I
but
guess they will be.
You've led me nicely on to the next question, really, which I'll come back to you, Max. Denton did kind of go off on Saturday, and as to be honest, expected, Ross Barrows was almost immediately recalled back and did feature yesterday. In fact, he played the full 90, got a goal and an assist. Question one, Max. Was it fairly obvious you think that he was going to come back into, be recalled? And question two, glad to see he's done so well. And do you think he might feature into the playoffs?
I think scenarios like this are exactly why there was a 24-hour recall clause inserted into Barrows' contract. We have seen it a couple of games within the last couple of months where, if they get an injury or a suspension here or there, you look across the back four, you look across the bench and think, are we maybe a little bit light defensively? And Barrows has had his critics, but the one thing he does offer you across that back line is versatility. And when you've, quote unquote, only got 5 subs and you may be wanting to have, a minimum of 3 attacking offensive options, having somebody like Barrows, at the very least on the bench, where you can go, right, if we have an injury or a card or a suspension anywhere across the back line, having him to come in is really important. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Denton. I think the fact that he potentially has another week to recover for the playoffs does play in Tyner's favour. You don't necessarily have to start him at Gloucester, but whether or not he features in the playoffs, I'm not sure. I'm not Denton's biggest fan at points this season, but I know Marco's prepared to fight me and throw beer at me. So I suppose it's only fair I bring in the opposition view.
Yeah, no, it's not that. It's nothing to. I remember a couple of weeks back, Jimmy Dean saying Denton he'd had a long-term injury for majority of the season, and I think, don't quote me, I think he said he'd had an injection to actually play, and it was sort of holding up.
But don't worry, Marco. No one.
This isn't just a Marco fact. it is legit. I know he had a long-term injury, and apparently he was sort of game to game. It wasn't long ago, so I can only assume it's a reoccurrence of that. But yeah, Max is 100% right. Barrows coming in is a great luxury to have that other teams don't have that. So yeah, it's only a good thing. Me personally, Denton starts. One thing, where's Kelly?
Yeah, so I do think Kelly has still got that knock. That's
Right, okay.
kind of kept him out. I've had nothing official from the club, but equally I haven't had any news
To
contrary
be
to
fair,
that. So
I'd sooner play the cards to the chest than
yeah,
it's
we don't need to know, do we? Like
no,
genuinely.
no, it's do or die time. We can send a
Yeah.
Max to play left back if needs be, but no, we don't need to know. Fans don't need to keep it all hush hush. But yeah, me personally, Denton's in our best 11. I think.
Barrow was the world's quality left back, don't you know?
You do
Well,
know. You do know I was at the game. I saw Barrow play.
Suspect. There's a reason you committed that foul, Max, and it's because you were let down.
Barrow went wandering.
Yeah, indeed. They gone with the wander. So, looking ahead to Saturday's game, Gareth, I expect Dan Langley will probably start. Do you think the same? And what other changes do you think we're likely to see ahead of the Gloucester game?
Do you know what? I don't know if I want any changes. Really, I know we're on a plastic pitch, which has a bearing on things, possibly on injuries and things. But for me, I want the team that's going to be playing in the playoffs to be starting. I know it's you can look at it either way, but for me, you just put your best team out, and because let's think it'd have been 2 weeks before they play again if you stuck the Blyth team all the way through, and I just think that get them out there playing. The plastic pitch does make a difference for me because injuries can be picked up on that. But yeah, it's a tough one, that, and I'm glad I'm not Jimmy. But but no, for me, you put the strongest team out that you can.
So Max, Gareth is concerned with a plastic pitch. I have to be completely honest. I'm more concerned with whether someone like Whitehall's going to get suspended. How important to you is it, think, just to get through this weekend unscathed, or are you with Gareth really? Go and get the win, go and get the 3 points.
I'm concerned about both factors. I, like Gareth, have sympathy with Jimmy Dean. He's a bit damned if he doesn't, damned if he doesn't.
True.
If we lose the semi-final, Dean will be criticised for whatever he does on Saturday, either making changes and taking the momentum out, or if somebody picks up a knock and doesn't play on Saturday, or the players look a little bit leggy, especially in the second half, then he'll get criticism for not resting them, not refreshing them. I personally would make a few changes. Maybe not wholesale, maybe not compared to the Blyth game, 10 or 11, but I think Whitehall as a red card risk is worth resting. I think Callum Roberts and Jacob Butterfield are players who would benefit from rest and the kind of injuries that you get on plastic pitch, a little bit of pressure on the joints, maybe rolling your ankle, not being quite as much giving it when you put your foot down and your knees. Those 3 in particular. Maybe Fitzsimmons, if you view the potential of him getting injured as being so catastrophic that you have to rest him. But that's up to Jimmy. Now we've got Barrows back. Playing Ogle is maybe slightly less of a risk. He might have been someone I'd have considered resting. He's been really important for us at large parts of the season at right back. Yeah, maybe a few changes. I mean, not quite as many as we made for the Sporting game, which I believe was 9, but I could certainly understand a pretty strong justification for 4 or 5, for example.
Marco, feel free to jump in with your kind of views on what your team would be ahead of Saturday. But I'd also like to know, as we look towards the playoffs now, what do you think our best centre-back partnership is? And do you think we're likely to see that on Saturday, or do you think we're likely to see players rested in that kind of defensive area?
The first part, Max is 100%. I don't know about Whitehall. Like you said, it's for card risk rather than an injury. Roberts is the only one for me that is a definite, and like I said, possibly Butterfield. Roberts just needs to be saved, bubble wrapped for the playoffs. There's no need to play him on Saturday. I'd sooner have a fully fit Roberts going into the semi-final. Centre-back wise, again, we've said it's so hard. For me, our best partnership is Coogan with either Boyce or with Evans. Sorry, but yeah, either way, it's going to be harsh. And I think with centre halves, you can sort of, because we've got that luxury. I do think he will keep it the same as he did against Blyth, and we'll see Coogan and Boyce on Saturday. And I think that's what he might take into the playoffs, which again is crazy because Evans has been so good. But yeah, I do think I don't see a need to change that. All due respect to Gloucester, they're down there for a reason. Hopefully, they don't lay too much of a glove on us, and it's a nice test, but we get through it unscathed. And I don't think there's any need to really change the centre half. But I do agree with Max. Roberts, Butterfield, for sure, due to injury wise and fitness. But Whitehall, I love him, but you don't know what he's going to do. Which is the same for Evans. Evans has also let himself down a couple of times this season, so he's reacted.
Do you know, I have a little sneaking feeling that we might see Andy Butler named as a sub on Saturday. With maybe it's a vanity project, maybe it's not. I wonder if he might get on for the last 5 minutes or so if the game's, one way or the other. Go on, Marco.
I think you'd have been 100% correct if we didn't have so many available and Jimmy Dean needing to see what everyone can do before the playoffs, especially for example, if I'm Laws and I'm just coming back to sort of game fitness and Andy Butler's on the bench to get his cameo 5 minutes ahead of me being able to prove myself that I could play in the playoffs and get a promotion, I'd be really miffed off. But again, this, like Gareth said, I don't envy Jimmy. He's damned if he does, he's damned if he doesn't. But yeah, from my point of view, like I said, it would be lovely. We all want Butler's the best, but we'd love it. But I just think from a football perspective, we have to take it seriously in the fact that those players coming off the bench are fighting for the place, and that's only a good thing.
Right, let's move on then to questions from the listeners, from the fans. Gareth, kind of putting you on the spot here, but Martin Henderson asks what your favourite goal of the season has been. If you haven't got one off the top of your head, I have one to hand straight away.
Favourite goal of the season? Any of Butterfield's from outside the box. Beeston's the other week. It pinged into the top corner, just off the top of my head, that I can remember. What's yours? Mine
would be Andy Butler against Gainsborough. I thought it was just an incredible moment. Honestly, I thought it was amazing. That was life peaked for me at that moment. It was absolutely incredible.
Not the birth of any of your children, no. It was Andy Butler against Gainsborough.
Well, to be honest, I'm not going to lie. Life peaked last night when Andy Butler let me lift the trophy. Like it was that was absolute top tier stuff.
I'm just glad he said trophy.
I feel like for the YouTube stream, we'll have to superimpose Barrett looking like a kid on Christmas, but 1,000 times better. It's a great picture.
And then Rog came over as well. It was just actually a big shout out to Rog for making that happen, because I just wanted to thank Rog, and he came over and was like, "Oh, Gareth, Barrett, come on, we'll get you to lift the trophy." I was like, "Wow, thank you, mate." I mean, don't mind if I do.
Some people would have been like, "Oh no, too cool for school. Give it to the kids." No. Barra's there, like, give me.
Max, what's your goal of the season?
So, it's a really interesting question. I think there's a difference between favourite and best, isn't there? I like the best would be, any one of Butterfield's absolute screamers. In a way, my favourite, well, I hope it's a goal still to come in the playoffs. I really liked the equaliser against Chester. The way in which the players rallied with 10 men, and how just when we needed it, Butterfield had the composure to shift it onto his right foot. Not as stunning a strike as a number of his other goals this season, but when the chips were down, the way in which we responded, the crowd was going, such a great atmosphere on the Donny Road end. And a bit like I said earlier, we haven't done that too many times this season. But under a really difficult situation, the way in which we did for that goal, brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
No, fair enough. Right, we'll move on to the next question then. Gareth, this is perfect for you. So Joe Richard asks, what's the most annoying away bench managerial team of the season?
Oh, bloody hell. Most annoying.
It's Hereford, isn't
Yeah, it's got to be Hereford.
it?
Yeah. Just bunching
Buxton's up there.
Buxton were bad.
Yeah. Scummers. Marco, Glenn Lowe asks, any word on who is going or staying for next season? No, we don't know. Like we touched on this last week, didn't we? And we've talked about what we think would happen. I personally think a lot of it comes down to what division we're in and who wants to stay, because ultimately, if somebody's tied to another year and they're on a good contract, what's the impetus for them to go, you know? Brian Douglas Parker Max asks, our first goal last night looked like an own goal to me. Didn't to me. How did you see it, Max?
Having seen it back, I agree with Doug, who's a Winterton Iron legend. It did look like an own goal to me. I don't think it was on target when it hit their defender and sort of bobbled in, but we'll take it. And it was the same with the equaliser at Tamworth right back on the opening day of the season. You know, if you get promoted in the playoffs via a goal that's less than pretty, well, they all count the same. Who gives a fudge?
Marco, Tammy Hinsley asks, who's the most upcoming player in the team, including loan players?
Who's the most what, sorry?
Upcoming player in the team, so, you know, player to watch for the future.
Upcoming. It's a tough one. Like I said, I'm really excited with Corbett. Obviously, he's only on loan. Roberts isn't young. To be fair, we don't have much youth. Obviously, with us getting rid of the academy and us not having a reserve squad or under 23s anymore, it's quite tough. But upcoming, Max is going to kill me. I like Denton. I really do like Denton, and I think he can.
I don't think he's upcoming though, is he?
But who is? I think, like youth wise, there's not a great deal of youth. You've got Robertson, including your players out on loan. Pugh went to Hereford and really well. But again, Pugh's 25, 26 now. There's no one we're not, for a long time now, well, it's going to be a while before we get that Adelakun or those young players coming through the ranks, because we just don't have that opportunity anymore, which is quite sad. But
okay, so Denton's 28.
This is what I mean. There's no upcoming.
And Tom Pugh's 23.
Who would be our youngest? Say your perfect 11. Who would your up and coming be? Who's our youngest player?
Scales, definitely. I think he's 20, 21. He'd definitely be up there for me. I think he's been an absolute revelation this season, to be completely honest with you.
He's played his really well, but upcoming, I think he's probably at his level. I think he's National League North, and that's fine for us. But upcoming, someone you get excited about, saying that he could really do it at a level above. Barring Corbett, I don't think there is many.
I think the other one, I would like to say for me, the other one I'm kind of looking out for the future is I really think Dan Langley will be a keeper that it wouldn't surprise me if he's playing league football in the next couple of years. I think he's highly thought of. I don't think last night went particularly as he would have hoped. A bit suspect at times, to be honest, but
it's just quite concerning that the two players we've said there are both on loan. Like I said, but that's what we're gonna until we touch wood. We reach the League Two, League One sort of stages. We're maybe bringing reserves or an academy back in. It is going to be loaning sort of the youth, and in this league, it's good to have experience. So,
really good question actually coming up, Gareth, from Carol Birch, who asks, "Who would your choices be to play for our semi-final and final, and who would you start on the bench?" So players that you'd like to see start and players that you'd like to see kind of involved in the squad.
I'd like to see start. What, in the playoffs?
Yeah.
Back four, as it is, with Denton back, hopefully, fingers crossed. I think he's been susceptible at times, but I think this last couple of games he's looked good. Midfield, Butterfield for definite. Scales. Roberts, Corbett. It's got to be Corbett. Up front, Whitehall. I'm missing one, aren't I? Am I missing one?
Probably McAlinden on the wing or something, is it?
Simmons.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, goalie. Yeah. Well done, Max. Thank you.
Do one of them.
Yeah, no, but I think earlier on as well we were on about like the wingers and people missing out, and we mentioned Roberts and Corbett on the wings.
Hmm.
But you've got to think of Sambi Ferris as well.
I know he played well last night as
You
well.
know, and he's played well in other games as well. And
Up and coming.
ultimately somebody's going to be he's going to be sitting out and wondering why.
Hmm. Max, I think I know the answer for this, to be honest with you. Neil Hudson asks what your favourite playoff memories at Glanford Park are. For him, it will be the Swansea game. I think that's the only answer, isn't it, Max?
Yeah, at Glanford Park, it's the only answer. I suppose maybe fans who are a little bit older than the four of us might talk about the Crew semi-final in '92. You know, when they lost in the semi-finals. The Iron had stumbled in the playoffs a number of years. Was it 3 out of 5 before that, I think? But yeah, it was everything about that season. The way in which they scored early, the pre-match, just the whole atmosphere. And people forget how tactically brave that Scunthorpe side was. Sometimes people think of Brian Laws as maybe a bit Brexit, a bit 4-4-2. That side in '99 was not. You know, the way England set up, sort of, particularly the last Euros, where it's like, it's in possession, it's 3-4-3, but then out of possession, it's maybe 5-2-3. Scunny were doing that more than 20 years ago. You know, you've got Andy Dawson screamer, Sheldon's 2 goals in extra time, coming back from the first leg deficit. Yeah, a great night. And if that is topped for drama this season, then crikey, it's going to be a hell of an end.
The two that spring to my mind, obviously nowhere near kind of the level of that, but Cam McGeehan scoring that last-minute equaliser against Rotherham was like the atmosphere that day was sensational. I think when games are on TV, there's always a bit extra as well. It always feels a bit more special. That was incredible. And the second one would be, although technically not a playoff game, would be the equaliser against Tranmere to get us into the playoffs. I was associated with, although technically not a playoff game, you can see the connection there. And again, God, the atmosphere that day was unbelievable. Marco, probably putting you on the spot here, but Gaz Sharp asks the 2 sides that you would like to play in the playoffs and the 2 sides that you would like most not to play in the playoffs.
Oh, that is tough. I think no matter how we're gonna, well, obviously it's not confirmed yet. With the teams lingering around there, I think Shields, they're obviously just on the outside at the minute.
Yeah. So just to clear it up before you answer, so our semi-final will be against either 5th or 6th place. So they play in the eliminator on Tuesday night. Currently, in those spots are Alfreton and Curzon. And as you say, the other teams that could potentially finish are Shields, Spennymoor, and even Chorley coming from the other way. So it'd be one of those 5 teams I would expect.
Yeah. So like I said, Shields having a really good end to the season. Hopefully can avoid them. I'd be quite worried about Curzon. Obviously, we've not really fared well against them this season at all. We had scored a goal against them. I don't even think we've laid a glove on them. So Curzon would be concerning. But yeah, the 2 I'd want to play. Alfreton looked average at Glanford Park when we played them. That's going to get clipped when they beat us.
At least he knows. At least he knows what's coming.
Yeah, it's really tough because the playoffs is just a lottery. Like I say, it's a great question, but to go up, you've got to beat the best, and you've got to play with someone. It's the same as when you get in the playoffs, it's like tournament football. You are going to come across the best team, and yeah, bring it. Let's have them.
I think we'd be okay against anyone in the semis. Chorley, Spennymoor, Shields, Alfreton, Curzon. I fancy us at home. I'm more concerned about the final, if I'm being completely honest. If we get there, I'd be more concerned about Brackley. Yeah, that's just my gut feeling. Gaz Sharp does follow it up, actually, Marco, with a second question, which is how many Stellas will Marco drink at the matches?
Oh God. Well, we don't have any at the Iron Bar, so I'll have been deprived. But I've got my permission slip signed for hopefully both days out. It'll be an early train job, so find me in Spoons at opening. But I'll do my best. And like I said, obviously, please drink
That's
responsibly.
opening. That's 8 a.m., Margot.
Yeah, but we don't serve till 9. But yeah, obviously,
speaks a man from experience.
I will be having a very good day up until the football. Well, just be a bag of nerves. But again, which brings me on to it. Obviously, booze aside, whether you're drinking, obviously these guys don't. It's so important that we just grasp every bit of the semi and touch wood the final, because don't you be laughing there. But yeah, no, it is huge, because these are the moments that we fought for and we deserve. So let's just hope the guys can do it.
You're right,
can't
mate.
have a go at you can't have a go at Barrett for that. You just said let's grasp the semi with a straight face. I'm sorry, Barrett's well within his rights to laugh at that.
He's a child.
Moving swiftly on, the quarterfinal game, the eliminator game, as we say, is happening on Tuesday. Now, the tickets for our semi-final, which will be happening 27th of April, go on sale on Monday, the day before the eliminator game. So we won't know who the opponent is. I presume the tickets will just say Scunthorpe versus eliminator A winner. So that's interesting to know that, fans can buy their tickets from Monday, I believe Monday morning. So that's, as I say, that's good to know. And we will be doing some content next week, putting some podcasts out, doing more of a preview really of the playoffs. So we've got that to look forward to. We'll move on now to our next section, which is our hero, idiot, and moment of the week. I'll kick off with you, Mark. I wonder if we could grasp your semi and give us an opinion on who your hero of the week was.
Well, that's actually the moment of the week from when he grasped my semi. But no, my hero of the week, and I don't know if this just shows how unrehearsed we are. I don't know if anyone else has got this. It was such a nice moment seeing Andy Butler with that cup. So my hero is actually Andy Butler. Even if he didn't he might not have had the best of games. But yeah, for me, Butler seeing that is a club legend. And yeah, it was so good to see. So yeah, an easy one for me.
Yeah, it wasn't that, Adam. Oh, he's just old, mate. Like,
He's
do you know what I
40.
mean?
He's 40. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But
No,
no,
that's
still brilliant. Great moment. And he thoroughly deserves it.
And Gareth, who's your hero of the week?
My hero of the week is going to, without saying my moment of the week, but my hero of the week are the football clubs condemning the FA and Premier League scrapping the FA Cup replays. There's been a few clubs come out now with statements, Tranmere, York, Grimsby, Dorking, just basically condemning what's happening. And I think they've got every right to condemn it, So yeah, if you've not, obviously this is a short and sweet segment, but if you've not read anything about the scrapping FA Cup replays, go and look online. You'll see all about it.
It is a short and sweet segment, but Gareth, I've got to be honest, you're the only one who sticks to it. Which leads me nicely on to Max, who's your hero of the week?
I am neither short nor sweet, I'm afraid.
No, long and bitter.
Quite right too. My hero of the week is this is how unrehearsed we are. But it doesn't matter who I say. I can say my hero of the week is the Pope.
You've won before.
Marco is winning. We know this.
Gareth is the person who's won the most. You're the person who's won the second most, and Marco is our least frequent winner.
But Marco has gone for Andy Butler. I could go. My hero of the week is Kat, who's the proverbial Mrs. Barraclough, and Marco is still winning with Andy Butler.
Okay, so this is a way of justifying the fact that you haven't prepared for the podcast.
I have. I've got one. It's Danny earlier. As I mentioned earlier, I was really pleased with the fact that you got a couple of goals. took the game as an opportunity to maybe put a thought into Dean's mind as to what his involvement should be, whether it's on Saturday at Gloucester or in the playoff semi-final. And I've just got a feeling in my gut that he's someone, if we're to get promoted, who's going to have a really big say between now and the end of the season.
Yeah, fair enough. Probably agree with that. Points obviously go to Marco. The answer is obviously Andy Butler, hero of the week, hero of my life.
Quelle surprise.
Let's have idiot of the week, I should think. And Max, let's kick off with you. Who's your idiot of the week?
My idiot of the week is the FA. For exactly the reason that Gareth has said, and I feel like I've stolen it off Marco as well, but tough titty. I expect this sort of shit from the Premier League. They always chance their arm. They're not bothered about fixture congestion. They're bothered about money. And those games don't make their clubs enough money compared to, for example, the ridiculous Champions League format we're going to have next season. Mm-hmm. And I expected better, perhaps naively. I did expect better of the FA. They'd already caved to the Premier League about the abolition of fifth round replays, moving the fifth round of the FA Cup this season to midweek, which I think is a disgrace. Appeasement of these people does not work. And you can see the response from the clubs, from the statements, exactly the ones that Gareth made. If you get a replay away at Manchester United, for example, you're getting 45% of those gate receipts. That game can easily be worth £500,000 to a member club. And there's no way on God's green earth that whatever contract or whatever pathetic justification they're going to offer up is going to do that. And the way in which they've clearly just ram-raided it through, they either didn't expect the clubs to care or they didn't care about the clubs. Because had they consulted on them, then, you can see from the response that the vast majority of clubs and the vast majority of fans would have turned round in anger and in outrage and told the FA to stand up to the Premier League, tell them to do one. But they haven't, because they clearly, frankly, couldn't be bothered. And I know that answer was long and bitter, but I don't care. And the sooner, if I can get political for a rare moment, the sooner that the independent regulator of football comes in, the better. Because the multiple governing bodies have repeatedly shown themselves incapable of running the national game effectively. I cannot wait for the fact that the FA and the Premier League and the EFL will soon be answerable to some people.
Here.
I'm done.
Thank God, I think we're all done. Marco, who is your idiot of the week?
What Max said. No, it really is, and it comes. It's not just the absolute shit show what Max has just said. It's for giving into your big clubs, like that 5 sub rule, stuff like that. It's all to benefit the big sides. The fixture congestion's an absolute load of toss. League One, League Two we play 50 games a season. Just because it doesn't suit your narrative that it's not Champions League, the games are still being played. Run a lot less money. If they're injured, a lot of these players semi-pro. But absolute bullshit. No, the only answer's the FA, bar none.
Well, you say that. Gareth, who's your idiot of the week?
Actually, no, Gareth's got a good point.
My idiot of the week is the FA. No, I'm joking. It's Eni Aluko. Just basically being in the press again just because she feels like she's being too quiet and just wants a bit of attention. But basically just saying it's not safe for women at football stadiums, which I find absolutely atrocious. I take Debbie with me to football. I take Kendall with me, who's 3. And I've not yet felt anything, any danger, any way, shape or form for Kendall or Debbie. There's lots of other women that sit around me as well. And, the only danger is possibly a ball coming off the pitch and hitting somebody. There's just no real I don't know where she's coming from. I just feel that she's just getting in the press just to get in the press and just be relevant for 5 minutes again. And, she's basically my idiot of the week.
Yeah, I'm going to read out a message we had from one of our listeners, Becky, who actually wanted us to talk about this. And she'd said, genuinely never felt safer than I do at football stadiums. And she said, any Illuga could be the problem here. Now, again, listen, I'm not naive enough to start talking about how other people feel. That's completely their business, right? And a lot of how you feel is how you feel. I can only speak from experience myself. I've taken my kids and my wife to many, many football matches. We've been to football matches in Germany, which, some of the German ultras you hear about, you would have thought that would have been crazy. But again, we sit in safe areas. We sit, where no one feels unsafe or anything like that. But again, I'm not naive enough to start talking about how other people feel. So it is a tricky one. But
just to trivialise this for a second, did you say the wife there? Has there been a wedding that we've all not been invited to?
No. Just one that you haven't been invited to.
It was a good day.
It was a good day.
Andy Butler was best man.
Andy Butler was the bride.
I know Kat doesn't listen to this, but I hope she makes an exception for this one. But just for this couple of minutes.
She doesn't listen to this and she doesn't listen to me. Now, contrary to what you said,
wise woman.
Yes, I am going to give the points to Gareth because I have to be honest, I do feel like the point came from nowhere. Like the point she was making was not relevant to what was going on, and it was almost like we hadn't heard from her for in a couple of weeks. And it was like, right, well, I'm going to make myself relevant again. So Gareth takes a point there, and we move on now to the moment of the week. Marco, what was your moment of the week?
Oh, I loved it, and I really did. And it's sort of again, it goes along with a theme tonight. It's a big sort of FU to the big guys, and it's an FU to the Prem and sort of the FA again. I loved Real Madrid beating Man City last night. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. And although like on the pitch, it didn't seem that way, but I thought football's the winner there. Despite not playing much football on Real Madrid's side. But yeah, it was so nice because the last thing I want is Man City to win another league or another Champions League, God forbid. And the sheer audacity to have the Champions League trophy outside the tunnel paraded in front of the Real Madrid 13-time champions who legitimately won it rather than 115 unanswered financial fair play claims. The audacity to do that when Real Madrid won, yeah, loved it. And just drinking those pep tears, love it.
Gareth, your moment of the week?
My moment of the week is the FA and Premier League scrapping replays, but there's no point going over that. It's been gone over already. They are also idiots, but yeah, that's it.
Fair enough. And Gareth? No, yeah. Max, your moment of the week.
I mean, I think Marco's going to win. So, are we the Farmers now? Liverpool knocked out, West Ham knocked out, Arsenal knocked out, Man City knocked out. Villa scraped through on penalties tonight as we're recording this, and even they needed an Argentinian goalkeeper to do it. So, I think we're the Farmers now, lads. My moment of the week, and this is genuinely not a kiss ass because I think Marco's going to get the point anyway. But honestly, seeing you two lads lift the cup at the side of the pitch, it's fucking ace. It's such a good photograph. The one of Danny Whitehall kissing you is a bit weird, but
we didn't ask him to do that, you know.
Yeah, I'm sure you didn't. I'm sure you did.
Gareth, back me up here.
Yes, you did. You showed him your cheek and said, "Can you kiss this for me?"
You kissed the wrong one.
But yeah, in many ways, I suppose after your previous point, I should have mentioned Rodgers, the hero of the week, for bringing the trophy over to the fans, and yeah, just a nice moment, irrespective of what happens on Saturday, irrespective of what happens in the playoffs. You're not getting that if you're Man City, are you? Pep's not there with his 115 charges and his 20 grand Armani jacket. He's not bringing that over to Debbie from Stockport, going, "Are you there, Lil? Here's the charity shield. Have a hold." And
Well, I don't know. I've heard some of the things said about that. Maybe he is. Have a hold of this, Semi.
you could have at least said shield.
Fill the cup.
Look, it was good. It was really nice. I was sadly stuck in the council offices, so I couldn't make it. But yeah, it was just seeing the way in which the supporters have gone. We're so happy on Facebook and Twitter as a nice little warm up and a moose boosh for what's to come. Hopefully, make sure if we get our hands on any kind of trophy or plate for winning the playoffs, I want to see a sequel.
Yeah, I love that speech. I'm going to give the points to Marco. I'm going to give him 2 wins on the bounce, and who knows, maybe we're setting a precedent here. Right, guys, he's styling it out for us. Right, guys, that concludes our episode. Thank you once again for tuning in. We've got a bit of content coming out next week, which, stay tuned for that. But yeah, thanks for listening. Up the iron.
Up the iron.